The river that built a kingdom. The telescope dial had a new setting tonight, a tiny hourglass symbol that Emma had never noticed before. When he turned it, the golden glow pulsed differently, and the brothers felt themselves not just moving through space, but through time itself. They landed on the banks of a wide, slow-moving river under a blazing sun. The air was hot and dry, and the land stretched out flat in every direction, golden sand as far as the eye could see, except for a narrow strip of green along the river's edge. "This is the Nile River," Emma said, shading his eyes. "We're in Egypt, about 5,000 years ago, around 3000 BC. The gift of the Nile." A boy about Oliver's age came running along the riverbank, carrying a basket of freshly picked figs. His name was Khufu, not the famous pharaoh, just an ordinary farm boy who shared the name. He was barefoot, wearing a simple white linen cloth around his waist. "The flood is coming," Khufu said excitedly, pointing at the river. "Look, the water is rising." Sure enough, the Nile was slowly swelling, its muddy brown water creeping up the banks. Every year, like clockwork, the Nile flooded between June and September. Far to the south, heavy rains in the mountains of East Africa sent enormous amounts of water downstream. When the flood receded, it left behind a thick layer of rich, dark soil perfect for growing crops. Without the Nile, Egypt would be nothing but desert, Emma explained. The Greek historian Herodotus called Egypt the gift of the Nile, and he was right. Everything in the farms, the cities, the entire civilization, depended on this one river and its annual flood. Khufu showed them his family's farm. After the flood waters receded, they planted wheat and barley in the rich black soil. They also grew flax to make linen clothing, and papyrus, a tall reed that grew along the river, which they pressed and dried into sheets for writing on, the ancestor of paper. Building the pyramids. The telescope moved them north, to the plateau at Giza, and the brothers gasped. 3 enormous pyramids rose from the desert, the largest one, the Great Pyramid, standing 481 feet tall. It was made of over 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons, some as heavy as 80 tons. "How did they build this without machines?" Oliver asked in disbelief. "They watched as thousands of workers, not slaves, as many people wrongly believe, but paid laborers and craftsmen, hauled massive limestone blocks on wooden sledges. Workers poured water on the sand ahead of the sledge to reduce friction and make it slide more easily. Ramps of packed earth and rubble allowed them to drag blocks higher as the pyramid grew. It took about 20 years and around 20,000 workers to build the Great Pyramid," Emma said. "And they did it with nothing but human muscle, ropes, levers, and ramps. It was the tallest structure in the world for nearly 4,000 years. But why build something so enormous?" Oliver wondered. The pyramids were tombs for the pharaohs, the kings of Egypt. Egyptians believed that pharaohs were living gods. When a pharaoh died, they believed his spirit would travel to the afterlife, and the pyramid would protect his body and treasures for eternity. Hieroglyphics, picture writing. Inside a nearby temple, the walls were covered with beautiful pictures and symbols carved and painted in bright colors: birds, eyes, wavy lines, feathers, snakes, and hundreds more. "These are hieroglyphics," Emma said. "It's the Egyptian system of writing. Each picture can represent a sound, a word, or an idea. There are over 700 different hieroglyphic symbols. Only specially trained scribes knew how to read and write them. It took years of study. For a long time after Egyptian civilization ended, nobody could read hieroglyphics," Emma continued. "The knowledge was lost for over 1,000 years. Then in 1799, soldiers found a stone in the town of Rosetta that had the same message written in 3 languages, hieroglyphics, another Egyptian script, and ancient Greek. Because scholars could read the Greek, they were finally able to crack the code and read hieroglyphics again." Mummies, preserved for eternity. In the depths of the pyramid, they witnessed the most mysterious Egyptian practice of all, mummification. The Egyptians believed that a person's spirit needed its body in the afterlife, so they developed an elaborate process to preserve the dead. Priests carefully removed the internal organs and stored them in special jars. They packed the body with a natural salt called natron, which dried it out completely over 40 days. Then they wrapped the body in hundreds of yards of linen bandages, tucking protective charms called amulets between the layers. The finished mummy was placed in a decorated coffin and laid to rest in the pyramid tomb, surrounded by food, clothing, furniture, and treasures for use in the afterlife. Some mummies have survived for over 3,000 years, Emma said in a hushed voice. We can still see the faces of pharaohs who ruled Egypt when the pyramids were already 1,000 years old. The telescope brought them home. Oliver lay in bed, thinking about young Khufu tending his farm by the Nile, about the workers hauling blocks under the desert sun, about the priests carefully wrapping linen around kings who believed they would live forever. All because of one river, Oliver murmured. One river made all of that possible. Never underestimate a river, Emma agreed softly, and they drifted off to sleep under the stars that the ancient Egyptians had watched from those very same skies, 5,000 years ago.